Hi everyone, nice to see you all today. Thanks so much for joining. My name is Dr. Claire Dembry. I'm the Head of Language Research in ELT at Cambridge University Press. And my team works to integrate the latest in research thinking into the support that we provide for learners and for teachers like you. So my talk today is going to hopefully provide you with a few kind of really practical things that you can use to kind of integrate research into your teaching. Because I don't want research to be some kind of abstract thing out there carried out by academics in their own little bubble. So I want to try and make it quite practical and useful to you in the classroom. Okay, so research matters to me because I think that testing things out, gathering information and kind of reflecting on what works and what doesn't is the best way to go about mostly anything, right? And that's something that we as teachers do throughout our careers anyway, right? So we try lessons, we think about how they went, we adjust and we amend and we kind of change things for our context and for our learners. And so if this is the case then, and we're all doing this kind of action research on the fly, then why do we need research? Well, for me, it comes down to two things that perhaps we all wish we had more of, right? And that's time and money. So we don't have time to all be experts in all things, sadly. But typically researchers are specialists in their field who have got the time to really look into things in depth and find, really interesting and useful stuff that we can, use in our classrooms. And along with that, they have, resources and money to run projects on bigger scales, so scales that go beyond kind of our own local contexts. So that means we can make kind of generalizations that are broader and are kind of have more powerful kind of implications for teaching and learning. But for me, there's a definite disconnect between what happens at universities and at research institutes and what happens in the classroom. And this, in that space there, in between the two, this is where my team works. So we try to make academic research really interesting and really useful for teachers. So that everyone can get the benefits and can understand things without having to go to university for 10 years to kind of work out what something means. So I'm just going to give you a few tips about what you can do to be a research informed teacher. I'm really happy to take questions at the end, so we should have a good bit of time, maybe 10 minutes or so to sort of address any questions you have. Please leave them for me in the chat box. Sorry, in the Q&A box at the bottom. Okay, so where to start then? So first of all, it's worth saying that it's not just going to magically happen, right? Like all good things, you need to think through what you want, chase after it, and kind of make an effort to make it happen. But a really good place to start is to think about what you as a teacher like. So what do you enjoy? What are the lessons that you look forward to the most? Do you really like speaking lessons? Do you really like doing reading tasks? Do you really like working with really young learners? So think about the things that you as a teacher are excited about. Along with that, also be a bit more critical and think about what you need. So what are the things that you dread? What are the lessons that you know they're coming and you think, oh, it's really hard, or kind of what aspects of teaching do you kind of not feel comfortable with? Is it giving feedback? Is it managing kind of classroom management? Is it motivating your learners? So think about these two things, what you like and what you need. And once you've kind of, got a short list of these topics, then what we need to do is find some interesting stuff. So how do we do that? Where on the internet is research? What can you do to find it? Well, for me, one of the best resources, not that I'm biased, but one of the best resources for teachers are the Cambridge papers in ELT. So I'm just going to share my screen now. We can have a little look at what they look like. So here you can see just a few examples of our papers. So we have around 30 at the moment on our website. The address is there. They're in development all the time, so we're always kind of producing more, and we're always really interested to hear from you if there are other things you need. So we can talk about this at the end in particular. So these papers, the aim is to take concepts in academia, so in teaching, try and take things that are difficult, that are areas where kind of teachers need more support, and look at what's happening with research, look at what the current sort of academic thinking is on these topics, and then translate that and make that really interesting, really practical for teachers. So have things that you can do and you can implement in your classroom. We also write kind of summaries of these to go on our blog, and the address is at the bottom there. And please do check out the blog as well. So my team and lots of the kind of experts and consultants we work with also write on the blog, aside from these papers. So we write about research that we're doing and projects that we're involved with. So please do check that out there as well. So all of these papers have, really clear sections that kind of sets out what you can find. So let's have a little look at that. So for example, this one is from test anxiety. So here you can see we've set out kind of what it is, what it means for you, for teachers and for learners, and then things you can do about it. So real practical information that you can kind of use in your classroom. So this is a really good place to start. So once you've got your things in your mind, head over to our webpage and see if there's anything that kind of matches up with your interests. Along with this, there are also lots of other stuff out there. I've just kind of listed a few suggestions here. So the British Council has absolutely loads of information on its website. There's just such a lot there. And all of it's free. So there's lots of kind of self-study resources. There's lots of things you can download, lots of papers and kind of reviews of different things. And the really good thing is that a lot of these you can search by region. So you can, make it really specific to your own context. So that's definitely one to have a look at. Also journals. So obviously academic journals are more involved and perhaps less of a fun read. But it depends on what you like and what you're interested in. I've just given a few examples here. So ELT Journal and TESOL. So ELT Journal in particular has lots of things that are free. So these key concepts, that this link here will take you to this page called Key Concepts, which kind of outlines key concepts. So there's a big long list of interesting topics and you can kind of click through and read about those. So they're two to try, but obviously these are more kind of, a bit less of a fun read, but it depends on what you like and what you're interested in. Okay, so also it's worth saying that it's useful to think about how you're using social media as well. So, who are you following? Could you kind of branch that out and follow more kind of researchers? Could you think about how you're using Facebook and LinkedIn? Search for, if you have, we've got these list of things we're interested in. If you're interested in young learners, use the hashtag in Twitter and find people who are talking about that. Follow them, see what they're doing, and kind of find interesting things from there. Also, a lot of conferences have Twitter accounts, IATEFL and TESOL and all of the kind of local varieties of TESOL. So give them a follow. Always lots of interesting things going on. And also if you have a question, so if you find somebody on Twitter who has written something and you have a question, ask them, right? What's the worst that's going to happen? Like, they ignore you. Well, never mind. So please do, if you do have questions, be brave and get out there and kind of ask people stuff. Okay. So we've decided what we like. We've found some places where we can find that on the internet. Now what do you do? Well, here's the thing. Reading papers alone isn't just going to magically improve your teaching. So just reading stuff probably won't make you a better teacher, sadly. I wish it would. To get something from it, you need to translate it into something kind of really tangible and practice orientated and useful for you. So you need to read it, you need to think about it in your own context, and you need to work out what you are going to do in your classroom. And that's the bit that sounds scary, and that's the bit that feels hard, but it doesn't have to be. So I'm going to just share my screen again so you can have, so we can talk through how you might do that. So this example here is from one of our research papers in ELT. So this is from giving feedback. And this particular page here is from giving feedback to peer feedback. So learners giving each other feedback rather than you as the teacher giving them feedback. And I've just pulled out a tiny bit here just because we haven't got time to read everything. So there's just a little bit here just so you can see kind of there are really practical steps and kind of interesting things that you can do in your class. So for me, if I was going to approach this, I would try and kind of put together a little table that kind of tries to make this really personal for me. And so for me, it would look like this. So I would try and think about, why are we doing this? So why are we going to try and implement peer feedback in the classroom? What is the benefit? And you'll find this in the paper, but this is the way to kind of structure your reading. So what are the benefits? Then kind of what are we going to do? So what are the things that have to happen? What are the kind of steps that we need to sort of take or follow? And then how are you going to do this in the class? So this is really kind of specific. And then impact. So how will we know if it's worked? How will we know if this has been a good thing to do? So let's just go through that. So in this case, the topic's peer feedback. Why do we want to do it? Well, research suggests that learners who know they have to give feedback to their peers listen more closely. Makes sense, right? If you know that I'm going to ask you, to tell me how I did, you'll listen rather than just pointing your face at me for a while. It also therefore promotes kind of learner independence, less reliance on the teacher, which is what we're all after. So here, this is in this space, list the kind of benefits. And then after that, kind of list the steps that you need to do. So what needs to happen? For example, learners need to give feedback globally, so they need to make a big comment before they kind of pick at the smaller things. So these are things that you need to be aware of when you set this up, if you're trying to kind of, implement this. Then how are you going to do this? So this will be very personal to you. It might be on Thursday, instead of doing that task where everyone does the speaking task and I would go around the class and give feedback, I'm going to put them into groups. So I'm going to do it in pairs or whatever and get them to kind of give each other feedback. So this is where you would slot this into your lesson plan. This is where in your lesson this would appear. And then how will you know if it's worked? Well, I mean, you might just know, it might just feel good, it might just flow. You could ask your learners, you could kind of, get some feedback from them. So it's really important to sort of, to try and think about what the research means for you. And this kind of research plan is one way to do that. Okay, so other things that you can do is, really think about other teachers. There's a great community. I mean, there's so many of you here today. Think about how you can leverage fellow teachers globally and locally in your school, perhaps, if you work in a school. So could you set up a reading group, for example, where you all read something, maybe one of the Cambridge papers. It doesn't have to always be a big, dramatic, involved thing. It could just be like you read it and then discuss for 5 minutes while you have a chat. But equally, it could be a really kind of, structured part of your continued professional development in your school or whatever. And also think about peers and how you and your other teachers are working together. Could you work on lesson plans together? Could you do some team teaching and peer coaching and that kind of thing? And I think there is a talk, another one of these EXPO talks, I think it's tomorrow, on professional development, so that probably will pick up some of these themes too. So, you know, head over to that one if you can. Okay, so that's it from me, more or less. I just wanted to leave you with one last thing. So I think for me, one of the biggest kind of lies I tell myself is that I understand what teachers need. And I mean, I've got an idea, but I'm not in the classroom all the time. And it would be really helpful to hear from you, you know, what are the areas where you need support? How can, you know, we help you? Because we're always interested to know more about that. So thanks so much for listening. I'm going to attempt now to have a look through the questions. I can see there's loads coming in, so let me have a little look. Okay, this one's from Maria. Are there any particular sources that we should use when looking for research papers? It depends. It depends on, it's a difficult question. I mean, if you want kind of more academic things, then Google Scholar is always a good place to go to have a look. But no, I mean, I think just having a look round, seeing kind of all of the journals are a good place to start. But I think it depends on the topic. It depends on what you're interested in. I'm sorry that wasn't massively helpful. Okay, Gisela asks, what am I currently working on? So we've got lots of really interesting projects on the go at the moment. So we are working on a project on engagement and how we improve engagement in the classroom. We are doing lots of stuff around life competencies and how we can kind of teach learners skills that go beyond kind of just learning language. And we do lots of stuff around language itself. So what language do learners need at different levels, and how does this change as they progress, and how does this vary based on their own language? Because obviously learning English is different for all of us if we all speak you know, different languages. Okay, so those are just a few things, and loads of other stuff too. A question from Alberic: as a teacher educator, how do we foster and develop the student teachers' research interests? Yeah, it's really hard. I think we have to show them interest in things, don't scare them off straight away. So I suppose I wouldn't send them straight over to ELT Journal, maybe kind of make it part of the process, part of the student teacher experience, you know, maybe show them. Some of the Cambridge papers has things that are really practical but are from research, so maybe kind of you could show them some of those kind of really practical things, and then introduce like, oh, and it was from here, and if you want to know more, go here. And also, you know, all of our papers do link back to the original research as well, so that you can go and find the journal articles and stuff if you want to. But I think yeah, making it not too scary. People think research is scary and difficult and far away, and I think, yeah, trying to, I mean, I think you probably do a really good job, because you know, you're here and you're obviously interested in this, so yeah. Okay. Is making research inside the classroom motivates children? Are we doing research on how to motivate children? Yeah, so we're doing a lot of work around motivation and kind of how we can sort of help learners to kind of get the most out of their learning experience. Motivation's a massive thing. Even if I wanted to, I couldn't answer it in 2 hours, you know, never mind in 2 minutes. But it is something we're working on. But I think thinking about kind of making things really kind of engaging and fun and interesting, and encouraging your learners to really be part of the whole process. So to really think about, you know, are they setting goals for themselves, and are they kind of reflecting on their learning and really making it kind of overt, the learning process as a thing, and not just turn up in English class, do your stuff, go home. Really think about why they might be involved in learning and why they might want to kind of, what they might want to achieve. So yeah, it's a big thing though. Okay. Resources, games and worksheets for dyslexic students. Okay, so we do have a research paper about specific learning differences, and I think we do have some recommendations on there, so that will be worth checking out. There are lots of experts as well. As I said, if you get on Twitter, this is something that is quite sort of well covered. There are quite a lot of people tweeting about this. We work with Judith Kormos quite a lot, who's a researcher in Lancaster, who will be a really good person to follow, especially on dyslexia. So yeah, look her up. Okay, this one's from Jacqueline. I've been trying to find a free paper on learning orientated assessment. I've only seen a research book, which is long and quite expensive. Yeah, I mean, it's a massive barrier to research in general. Things that are really long and really expensive. Is there a short and free version? I know we've done something on this. It might not be on our website straight away, but I think definitely, if it's not there already, and I can't remember off the top of my head, then definitely have a look and keep your eyes peeled, because yeah, we're aware that this is something that is an important thing. Okay, Rima, how to become a classroom researcher? Well, you can do it, right? You just need to work out what your question is, work out what you want to find out, make a plan, and go for it. Yeah, I mean, definitely I would suggest having a read of other research that other, you know, teachers have done. So typically teachers doing research in their own classroom. It's called action research, so that could be something maybe to have a little look at. But you know, I think you just start small and scale up from there, and don't be afraid to try things, and to try things out on your students, and to test things out, and to try and kind of see what works and what doesn't. Okay. Is there a good way to get in touch with other teachers around the world? Question from Anne. Yeah, I haven't got a single answer to that. I haven't got like a yes, go here. But I think definitely thinking about, you know, social media, getting out there, seeing, you know, doing some Google and typing in, trying to find things. I haven't got a go-to answer, but I think just be brave and reach out to other teachers, and join groups, join teacher groups on Facebook or whatever, and just kind of, you know, try and make connections. Okay, let me have a little look. I've just answered my question. Okay, people answering their own questions, always nice. Do you think Cambridge teacher training encourages teachers to look into research enough? I've only done the CELTA, but I felt it was more like a set methodology to follow. Yeah, I mean, I think I'm always going to say no. I don't think people look at research enough. I always think that it could definitely be a bigger part of things. I agree, I did the CELTA. I felt it was very much like you get on the train and you kind of follow the path. But I mean, there's good reasons for that, in that, you know, it's very time limited, isn't it? So, but I think there's definitely more that we can do, and I fully take your point. And that, I mean, that is something that we are trying to work on. You know, I am trying to take over the whole world via the medium of research. It's just a matter of time. Can I recommend a paper on dealing with difficult teenagers? I mean, I think it's a problem that everyone has, right? Difficult teenagers. I don't have one. I think we've definitely there's definitely lots of advice and support about teaching teenagers, and part of that obviously is the fact that they are difficult, or they can be. So maybe have a look at some of the I think we offer some professional development online courses about teaching teenagers. That might be a good thing to have a look at and see if there's anything useful there. Okay, I think I've probably only got time for maybe one or two more. The name of the expert in dyslexia on Twitter, she's called Judith Kolmos. I'm sure I can add that to my slides or whatever. I'll write it in the chat box at the end. How to make research stress-free? What a lovely question. I think make a good plan before you start and enjoy. It's, you know, it can be difficult, but make a plan, execute the plan. Easy as that, right? Okay, I'm so sorry that I don't have time to answer any more of your questions. There's loads and loads that I didn't get to. It was really nice to talk to you all. I hope that was really useful. Please do follow me on Twitter if you'd like to. And if you have any questions that I didn't answer, you can fire them at me there. Thanks so much. And yeah, bye for now. Cheers.